People in this country are demanding, and even the black people in the whole world are demanding, is that you keep your word. You told us we were free. Well, then show us that we're free. You told us that there is justice, equality for all in this country. Well, then stick to your word and let us see the justice and equality for all. Or else admit to us that you're not a man, you're a word, you're afraid of us, you're afraid to give us equal stand. You're afraid that if you give us equal ground, that we will match you and we will override you.
Can kill all the black folks you want, baby, but you will not kill the freedom of black folks. It's coming. We're going to get it. We fought every one of your damn lousy wars, baby, and you give us nothing. Now the war is going to be here, but we're going to be free. Now you kill you want to, but we kill you.
Good afternoon, fam. Good afternoon. What's going on, Free? Empress Goddess, good afternoon. Much love, much respect. I decided to put the plan that I had started working on last year into effect this year. So I really want to start to strategize streaming with the cause. I mean, everybody knows that my messages obviously have a purpose, but I need them to hit a certain way when I go up. Give me one quick second. Well, T-Mobile, no, they want some money. Since they bought Sprint, they be on your helmet about the money. I'm just, let me get one quick second. I'm just, I was supposed to actually hit somebody and I didn't do it. Sorry. But back to the basics. Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon. Yeah, I said I was going to start to strategize the streams and really keep them angled at certain areas on certain days so it wouldn't get confusing. Some people may just want to check in on the local stuff. Some people may want to check in more on the national stuff. Some people may want to check in when I'm talking about reparations specifically. I might do a quick hit video here and there, and that's a person that's obviously already subscribed, whether it be on YouTube, whether it be on Facebook, Twitter, so they'll catch everything. And I definitely want people to subscribe to Freedmen Media on YouTube, Freedmen Media on Instagram, Freedmen Media on Twitter. That way you'll always know when I'm up. The biggest thing for me right now is just making sure that I get this organized. As I told Ray, I was like, I need to make a run at this 30 days in a row. Well, that's actually 31 days for the month of January, and see how it flows. I know I'm gonna be tired as hell doing it the way I'm doing it, but she understands my fervor for this. She understands why I'm doing this. And that caption, that picture that I had up when we first went live, that is my father in the middle. For those who don't know, Frida knows who he is. She calls him Santa Claus. That's what they called him back in the day. Not everybody, obviously, but those who were blessed with his presence, they knew him as Santa Claus. I knew him as Dad. He was a ridiculous dude, and I said probably my biggest regret was not being able to spend some of my more impressionable years with him, but what he gave me genetics wise, I've tried to use to the fullest. He was definitely not this. He was definitely not about the microphone. He was a great speaker. He was a great orator. Had some of the best handwriting I ever seen in my life. But one of the things that he gave me was the ability to be able to have the courage, stand up, and be unwavered. In my day, we watched a movie called Glengarry Glen Ross, and there was a line in the movie, you either have them or you don't. And my father had stones. My father had stones to the point where I don't wish that his stones were smaller at some points in his life, but he had stones to the point where I think sometimes he felt invincible. And I wish he would have felt some type of invincibility, or vulnerability, I guess, as it were, because it might have kept him from doing some of the things that he did. But in my eyes, he's still the greatest man that I've known, and I've known a lot of great men. But as far as my father goes, I don't think with what he had, with what he did, I don't think there'll ever be another person like him. Just because he maximized his mind, and he allowed himself to go down some paths that he probably wouldn't do a second time, but that's just a part of being a great man. That's part of being a risk taker. So, it is what it is. But yeah, he was a corporate guy, for many years, ran the Southeast division of PepsiCo, which were, he headed the Pizza Hut division and stayed in Georgia, and he was up in South Carolina, down in Florida and Alabama, Georgia, of course, and just to see the type of respect, and let's just leave it there, the type of respect that he commanded with the position that he held, because he actually was a boss to people who had degrees, multiple degrees, but they didn't have what he had. And when he climbed that corporate ladder, he climbed it with just based on who he was. He didn't climb it because he had a whole bunch of degrees and he had a whole bunch of references that said who he was. He climbed it because of who he was and what he was. So I've always prided myself in having knowledge on what I speak about and what I do. And, I know that comes from him, and the other stuff comes from my mother. My mother was the first Black woman to ever graduate from Specs Howard School of Broadcasting. Never really opened the mic on the radio. She helped a few people, get through the radio business. She helped a few people get started in the radio business. And I try to pay homage to that a lot, because had it not been for her, basically chin checking me about my voice, I probably would have never gotten into the radio game. So where I am now, because I can't go back into a terrestrial radio station. For one, they can't pay me what I'm really worth. And I don't want what I am to be minimized to reading liner cards and doing in and outs between songs that, frankly, there aren't any radio stations in Detroit that I would probably work at, because they've gotten rid of all the good ones. And as far as these other new radio stations, I can't fake the funk there. But I appreciate everybody checking in early. Like I said, we've got Empress Goddess in here. Freeze ride on my side. That's my rider in these chat rooms. She will check you. I appreciate that. And she will up you out of here too. So back to the basics, a few people that I seen last night, when I was on Information Man's show. Appreciate y'all. I know what that was about. That was talking about Santa Claus there. I wasn't even looking at the screen. That was talking about Santa Claus there. I resemble my father the most, so any comments about the way I look, just don't disrespect my pops like that. That's it. I miss him. Absolutely. So my thing is, I resemble my father, and it's so crazy because people used to say I look like both of my parents, but I think it was just because I didn't have my father's nose, but I had my mother's nose, but pretty much all the other features I had were my father's. So, it is what it is. Thanks, Free. I appreciate you. And my father actually passed. A lot of people don't know this. My father actually passed on my eldest daughter's 10th birthday. So it's such a bittersweet time to where when I think about her coming into this world now, I think about him leaving. So it's a bittersweet day, altogether. The day I become a father was the day I lost my father, and you just can't plan things like that. You just can't plan for things like that. So very, very difficult time. But everybody says that. So I'm living it now. I'm living it now. I've never really denied it. I just couldn't see it. Back when I had black hair, I just couldn't see it. But once all the platinum started to take over, then I definitely got it. So it is what it is, and I love the fact that people can remember him in the way that they remember him when I'm walked up on and people ask me, am I related to him or did I know him? And then I tell them that he's my father. They always got a story to tell. And in this story is one of the stories that's always stuck with me. He kept so many people from having to move back down south. There were so many people that came up here looking for jobs and looking for a better life. And he kept so many people from having to move down south because he was able to get them, substantive employment, whether it be, in the construction game, whether it be in the plant game, help people to get in, to working with city government. And they were able to take care of their families and not have to make that U-turn and go back down south. So he did so much. Thanks, back to the basics. And, I love the fact that some of that is dripped down to me. I can't say that I'm him because I don't compare myself to him at all. But some of that has dripped down to me to the point where I can't stand to see a man on his knees. That's just not me. And that's why I tell people I will not be out passing out turkeys. I will not say that I can't help people, on an individual level, but I'm not going to be out passing out turkeys and chickens and whatever, during the holidays. My goal is to put people in play to where they can buy their own groceries. Anybody can work out something with Gleaners and work out something with the turkey farm so you can give out free turkeys for the holidays. But when we talk about the real gift of giving, how can I help you eat tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next month and the next year? That's my goal. My goal is to help you eat ongoing, not just for the next day, So some people, they like that. They like the way that makes them feel when they can give away a turkey, they can give away a hen, they can give away a dog, whatever. But my thing is, I'm trying to put people in positions to win every day, not just one day. Nothing wrong with giving out a box of food, but what happens when that box of food runs out? That person needs again. How about we teach them how to get out there and get a check? How about we teach somebody that's got some skills and got access to some resources and start a business? How about some of those things? And we need more of that in this community, more so than just giving out a lot of handouts. A lot of people like that handout shit because that's really what they're based on. And that's just like the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party, the way they're based on, they'd like to keep people in that downtrodden state, always with that hand up, with that handout, and then they'll fill it with, with some goods and some services and some stipends. And so you'll be needing something again before too long. That's where I have a conservative mind state, where I want people being able to feed themselves, and I want people to be able to feed their families, and that's just where I believe life needs to be for all of us out here. Everybody doesn't believe that, but it is what it is. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That's what I have to live by. That's what I have to live by. But what also I have to live by is what I said I was going to do today. And I wanted to bring this up because this here, to me, being that this is week 1 of the Washtenaw Word, I want to talk about a few things that are happening in our community. And we've had some change. We've had some things happen. And when we talk about businesses, and, I got on the commissioner, Justin Hodge, for his caption of a post that he made. And I lauded the fact that he said something positive about this Black-owned business, but I trashed the fact that he denied giving them the credit of being a Black-owned business, especially in that territory, because there ain't no other Black-owned businesses in that territory. He said they were locally owned when they're Black-owned. I touted that they were Black-owned. Other people have touted that they're Black-owned, but then we get our county commissioner up who says they're locally owned. So, that's important to me, because we're not just out here being consumers. We are producers out here in this county. But for some reason, people want to lump us all together and make us what everybody else is, and that's just not so. We got a Black-owned pizzeria in Washtenaw County on Eastern Michigan's campus, one of the higher rent districts out here. And for some reason, they chose to say that it was locally owned instead of it being Black-owned. I have a problem with that. I have a serious problem with that. But, he's along with that People of Color Coalition, the Dream Team and whatnot. So they're going to say what they say and they're going to do what they do. And so is Freedmen Media. So we good with it. We good with it. PD, let's go. Some groups don't give food for free. They give it to gain something from the people who get the food. This is very true. This is very true. One of the things my mother told me back when I was young, you don't get something for nothing. If somebody gives you something, they're going to be looking for something back. And you never know what they're going to want back. You never know. So that was her thing with me. Don't ever have to ask nothing from nobody. When I would go out when I was young, she'd always make sure I had more than enough money so I wouldn't ever have to borrow no money from one of my friends or have to get money from my parents. I grew up in subsidized housing. People always felt like, oh, they broke, so we're going to help them out. We're going to do this, do that. No, I was always strapped whenever I went out. When I went to the movies with a friend and his family, they were like, oh, Shannon, we can. I'm like, no, I got that. I got that. And I know that it was real. I know it was genuine, but my mother always put me up on game and was like, here, this is what you do. You take care of yourself. You don't have to worry about nobody taking care of you. So it was real. It was totally real. That's absolutely what it is. Nothing is free in this world. But, I want to start basically with the level of importance, because these other two things, it's not that they're not important, but I want to start with the level of importance, because I had some people that were heavily vested in this situation dealing with sidetrack. And, everybody knows how I feel about this situation, because I'm about the people. And when you're about the people, you're going to think from the people's perspective first. It doesn't matter what side of the corporate structure you're on. If you're a people person, then you're going to think about the people first. So for me, when I heard what was going on and what had been going on for years over a sidetrack, I got busy and I got to cooking on it. And yeah, I got shut down on a few of the local pages. They didn't like it. I got it. I totally got it. But my biggest thing was I did not care. I knew the detriment. I knew the true detriment. I had seen the papers. Okay, I had seen the papers, and I had seen statements from people that they had put things down about what they had incurred dealing with this place. And so that's all it took for me to basically getting in track. Uh-oh, hold on one second. I'm writing about sidetrack right now for the Ann Arbor Independent. Oh, so here I am. I'm kind of jumping the shark on something that a well-known, locally angled publication is already up on. And what I say, I'm sure it's not going to go into the depths of what the Ann Arbor Independent is going to go into, but I definitely have the facts because of the people that I've dealt with, the former employees and people that have been directly connected with this situation. Everything is actual factual. And I'm just going to show you how, and we can kind of go from there. Let me see what you guys saying here, back to basics, and then I'm going to jump into this screen share. My mother taught me that if I go out on a date, always have enough to pay for the portion of the bill. That way there is no obligation to give anyone your cookie. Absolutely. You ain't got to feel obligated to open up that cookie jar as long as you got that pocketbook with you. That's the way things should go. When Natty leaves up out of here, I'm always asking you got money? You got money? Now, if you're going on a date with somebody, I totally understand what these youngins, what they do. Yeah, that's out of respect. But I don't ever want her to have to lean on somebody. And I've never wanted my kids to have to lean on anybody. Because I know that that comeback could be something that they might not want to do. And I don't want nobody talking about, oh, well, I did buy dinner and all that. And I did. No. That's not the way we doing things up in here. That's not the way we doing things up in here. And them draws ain't falling off just because you paid for a couple slices of pizza, you know what I'm saying, and a pop. Sorry, that's not happening. That is not happening. The cookie jar stays closed. Your pocketbook stays open. You go home safe. He goes back where he's supposed to go, and everything is all good. Sister Cody, how you doing in there today? I saw you. But yes, what we got going on, I want to go, like I said, from an importance standpoint and not to lower the other two situations because they're equally as important because they're in the county, they're in the village, but we're going to rock with them in a minute. But I want to go to this situation dealing with sidetrack first. Dealing with sidetrack. And, when I brought this up before, people really didn't understand what was going on. And then they just kept hearing story after story after story after story. And then once that started, then it started to snowball. And when I was talking about that there was a lawsuit in federal court and or civil court and all this stuff, they were like, oh, so maybe this thing does really have legs. Maybe it's real. And this was put up by a page that is on Instagram. You can see it. It's public. It's called Boycott Sidetrack Ypsilanti. And I'm going to read the caption, and then we're going to flip through the slides. But I'm going to leave the slides on slide 1 right now. As we start 2023, we'd like to make sure people are aware. The news has been long time coming. It's a much needed validation for hundreds of former employees that were stolen from and victimized while working at Sidetrack. So when this thing first got started, they tried to make it seem like it was just a few disgruntled employees. They tried to make it seem like a few people got their paycheck shorted. No, this was generations, basically, of industry employees. When I say generations, a generation of a service industry employee could be 6 months to a year. They flip restaurants, flip cafes, flip bars, whatever, all the time. And this has been going on for years. We were forced to work off the clock. We were never paid overtime. We were forced to engage in a legal tip pool. We were not paid the proper minimum wage. These claims have now been substantiated with evidence and have been signed off on by a judge, period. They may have not received a guilty verdict. Excuse me. I did not read this before I read it. I want this to be fresh. I want it to be organic, not sound canned. They may have not received a guilty verdict in court, but that doesn't mean that they aren't guilty. And what they're saying here is when Sidetrack decided to settle, and give up the bread that they had to pay out to these employees who were wrongfully done, that's an admission of guilt. Anytime somebody basically settles a lawsuit, they are admitting guilt for two reasons. One, they don't want it to go no further to damage their reputation. And two, They don't know what the plaintiffs might have under their hat still that they could bring out and make them look even worse if they try to take it to trial. So they will generally stop you in your tracks once you present enough evidence that they can't fight off, and they will settle. And that's exactly what Sidetrack did. They settled. And I know that they'll say, oh, no, we didn't get a guilty verdict. No, but you settled. And a judge signed off on the settlement, and those employees have now been paid. But that's the reason that you settle. So you don't pay out a larger sum of money, and you don't take the chance of being found guilty of even greater charges. You don't have to pay out a big settlement unless you did something wrong. The service industry attracts a lot of young people because it's a fast way to make money, and you can always work the hours around your school or a second job. If you're struggling financially and need to make quick cash, the service industry can be an easy answer. The problem is that the young people in our industry don't know their rights in the workplace. Remember, I was talking to y'all before about the Starbucks employees. They was real happy that they was being unionized. Then I went to 3 different Starbucks, and they didn't even know who their union rep was. I'm like, y'all can't be happy about being in a union if you don't know who, when you got a problem to complain to. You got to know your rights. You got to know the rules. You got to know the regulations. And youngins going into a restaurant, generally because they're not from this area, they don't know their rights. They don't have no foundation. And they're going to basically rely on the coworkers. And if everybody's getting brutalized in there, who really can you lean on? And that's what happened to a lot of these young people. They got chewed up and spat out at the Sidetrack Underground Railroad Bar and Grill. The service industry attracts a lot of young people because of the fast way to make money, and they can usually work the hours that I read all that part. The problem is the young people in our industry don't know their rights in the workplace. They often lack the life experience to know if it's okay to speak up or how to address a problem with upper management without fear or retaliation. I basically jumped the shark on that. Sorry, y'all. There are very little protections in places of service industry employees. Most of the times in these situations, the employees are too afraid of losing their jobs to ever come forward. It's been years since some of our friends worked at Sidetrack, and the majority of them still are too terrified to come forward. I mean, they literally put some weight on some of these folks, push people out of the service industry, push people into counseling, push people into drinking, push people into drugs because of the way they were. And I'm not going to mention the name of the family because everybody knows who the name of the family is, and I've done that enough on my last cast. Many are too afraid to even join the class action. The phrase were too afraid. The phrase Sidetrack PTSD is something we hear all too often when speaking with former employees. From what I know now, there's a ton of employees that are still in the service industry. And when they meet up in other places, you know, they always talk about, hey, where have you worked at? Where have you get, you know, this, that, and the other. And when you find 2 Sidetrack former employees at a new establishment, the stories that they trade are ridiculous. This is what I know. I'm not telling you what I think. This is what I know. When 2 former Sidetrack employees get employed somewhere else and the stories that they bring out to each other, that was enough for these people to bring forth this class action suit. Our industry has always been brutal, but we don't have to stay silent about it. The only way to stop these manipulative, exploitive business practices is to call them out and stop supporting the people who continually try to skirt the system. The outcome of this lawsuit is a win, not only for the survivors of Sidetrack, but for the service industry in Washtenaw County as a whole. Who are we about? We're about the village. Where's the village? It's in Washtenaw County. They didn't just do this for the people who had worked at Sidetrack. They did this for the future people who may try to go work at Sidetrack, who may be working at Sidetrack, who may have that thought of working at Sidetrack, because they know what they do. We did it. We stood up to them and held them accountable. People have tried to silence us for years, and we have the right, and we've been right the entire time. It really makes you wonder, what else have we been telling the truth about, doesn't it? That was real. That was real. And feel free to go look and read the unedited version of my reading, you know, on Instagram, boycott Sidetrack Ipsy. Because what's going to happen is this is going to spread like wildfire. This is going to spread like wildfire. Now, they did a slide presentation on this post. As we start 2023, we like to make sure people are aware. A judge in a court of law saw everyone's evidence and agreed with us. We were right. They were stealing from us. Sidetrack settled the class action lawsuit out of court. They were ordered to pay back the involved plaintiffs for stolen wages. Stipulated order for the approval of collective action settlement and dismissing case with prejudice, signed by District Court Judge Terrence G. Byrd. A dismissal with prejudice means that a ruling is the final judgment. In the case, the dismissal prohibits the prosecutor from refiling the charges. Innocent people shouldn't need to pay out large settlements if they've done nothing wrong. Real talk. Ask yourself, since we've been proven right about something this serious, what else have we been right about? Boycott sidetrack. Boycott sidetrack. Boycott sidetrack. And that's what everybody needs to have on their mind. Boycotting this business. Boycotting this business. Boycotting this business. This is not something that should be taken lightly by anybody, whether you're in the service industry or not. If you're thinking about going to have a meal at Sidetrack, you need to think again. You need to think again. Because why would you want to eat somewhere that has brutalized employees like this? And it's been proven in federal court. Why would you want to put yourself in that position? Because if I drive by and I see you in the window eating at Sidetrack, I'm calling you out. And I've been driving up and down Cross Street for months, waiting to see people walk in there that I know. And I know people duck in there and they go in there and have them burgers and they go in there and have drinks. But I'm glad y'all don't post it. I'm really glad y'all don't post it. Because there's so many other restaurants that you can go to that don't brutalize their employees. There's so many restaurants you can go to that don't shortchange their employees. There's so many other restaurants you can go to that don't tell their employees to clock out, but you ain't going home. They used to tell their employees clock out and they didn't let them go home. I don't believe in that. If you off the clock, I'm off your property. I'm not going to keep working for you. And I'm not getting paid for it. And why do you need me to clock out if you have intentions of paying me for it? Disgruntled employees is how they have tried to silence us for years. Sounds like possibly a Sidetrack former employee. And y'all got to know, I get 7-8 people that watch my videos, so I didn't put no plants in here today. Anybody that's here is here on their own accord. I gave a 10-minute heads up, and I never even reshared it before I started the stream. So if they hear today, they hear because they hear. They hear because I'm speaking. I'm not clowning. I'm not cooning. I'm not talking that craziness, that circular Pan-Africanist talk. We're talking about people getting up off their knees because that's where Sidetrack had people. They had people on their knees. They absolutely find loopholes through the system. And when you got people backed up to a wall where you're not only their employer, but sometimes they were their employer and their landlord, who's going to speak up? Who's going to speak up? I don't want to lose my job and I don't want to lose my house. But if I lose my job, I can't pay my rent, I'm going to lose my house. Or they might just evict me because they say my music's too loud or one of the neighbors complained about me. So now I'm ass out on the job. Now my ass is out on the street. Trey Lincoln, my brother, what's good with you? Out there on the highways and byways, be safe. Happy New Year, my brother. It's going to get grimy out here in 2023. You already know this. Sidetrack is a local underground railroad eatery in our community, brother, that has wronged hundreds of employees, and they won a federal class action suit and were paid for lost wages because these people have been told to clock out and still work. They had been put into illegal tipping pools. They had been treated, in such egregious manners that we can't even really speak about it on the air. But they were put in positions to where they had no choice but to file a lawsuit against the people who own Sidetrack Bar and Grill. Thanks, PD. Let's go. So, yeah, my thing is, I'm up on things like this, but I can't speak about them every day. And unless there's something new, you know, I am the gun. I get that. I am the gun. But if I don't have any new ammunition, there ain't nothing for me to shoot. But when I got shot this, I was like, whoa, I didn't even realize. Because the first time when I seen it, it was like one of the middle slides. I didn't even understand it, and I couldn't refresh the screen, so I didn't look at it again. And then I got a nudge to go, hey, go look at that boycott sidetrack thing. What are they talking about? So then you find out that the settlement has been paid. No guilty verdict, but they settled. They settled, which means they were wrong. Imagine stealing from your hourly employees while driving a Tesla and spending winters in Florida. Must be nice. Must be nice. I guess that money they stole paid for that Tesla. Also bought the entire rest of the building sidetrack as a part of and raised rents, and 2 women-owned businesses closed at the start of. Wow. Wow. So when things got bad out here, because I know we've had things get bad out here before, but when things got bad out here, this is the kind of thing that Linda French did. She raised the rent on people during the beginning of COVID, when businesses were shut down and you already couldn't frequent the businesses, and nobody had systems set up for doing curbside service initially, and nobody had businesses set up to where they could do delivery and things like that. So you raise the rent on people and you know they can't pay the rent at the beginning of the most detrimental time in our lifetime. These are the kind of things that they did, and y'all still support this place. I'm trying to tell you, if I see anybody going into Sidetrack that I know, I'm calling you out on site. Please post that you at Sidetrack. Please post the food that you at Sidetrack. I will get in your comments and call you out on site. You will have to block me. You will literally have to block me. There is absolutely no way they should be breaking a buck in Depot Town or anywhere else in Ypsi. Anywhere else in Washtenaw County. They need to beat it. They need to get out of this county. Go somewhere else. They shouldn't be breaking a buck. And they basically own that whole block, both sides of the street, that whole family. And I don't know the business practices of the brothers across the street, but they say what? That the apple don't fall far from the tree? I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Absolutely. It was definitely a wealth transfer. I like the way you put that, a raft transfer, because that's really what it was. It was a raft. But it was a wealth transfer from the people who didn't have it to the people who really had it. I knew what you meant. I knew what you meant, back to the basics. I knew what you meant. We here. We here. We here. We here. I'm one of them people that I know the words when they're misspelled and I know what they mean. You know, I ain't gonna get up here and clown you for misspelling something because I know you're typing fast, you in the chat room. And I love the fact that y'all in here and y'all active today, because this is something that we need to absolutely talk about. Linda French and her partners have 8 LLCs that are used to hold property, including the properties on Cross Street. 8 LLCs. 8. I know people that have a hard time holding down one LLC and keeping it tight. They got 8 LLCs on Cross Street alone. And the rich just keep getting richer. Well, minus that lawsuit that they had to pay out. A tenant who lived in the upstairs apartments who lived there for more than 20 years had to move because she raised the rent at the start of COVID and he was unhoused. No, he was homeless. No, he was homeless. See, I don't use the sexiness of the word. All due respect, Chelsea. I don't use the sexiness of the word. And I called her Chelsea because my niece is named Chelsea. So I just call her Chelsea. I don't even know Chelsea here, but I do now. So I'm sorry, I don't use that word. That word is a sexy homeless word. Unhoused is a sexy homeless word. When you have a house and then you are put out because you can't pay the rent, you are now homeless. You are now homeless. And you have nowhere to turn. And everything that you had, what's it going to do? Go into storage? And you going to go in there and sleep with it? Because it ain't like you're going to get a house immediately if you get evicted. Oh, and your first point of reference would be the people that just evicted you. Good luck. They got 2 nonprofits too? Wow. Wow. It ain't the rich get richer. It's the evil get eviler. I don't even know if that's a word. Name another business in Ipsy that has that type of wealth. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's more than fishy. That's politically driven there. That you got to have political clout to be able to get stuff like that. And I know that the city council in Ypsilanti eats out of the palm of the French's hands. You know, I know the mayor cows down, and it don't matter who's elected in the city, you know, cows down to the mayor. The county commissioners, they bow down to the mayor. I mean, Linda French, she's best friends with Debbie Dingell. She's had Jim Clyburn up in her joint. She's had Joe Biden up in her joint. You know, she's had the most powerful Democrats in her joint, not in Michigan, in the country. Y'all got to understand, we did our homework here. We did our homework here. We just ain't blasting off for nothing. Yeah, they put you on the street, then they can call you a vagrant, say you're trespassing, then they throw you in jail. It's a revolving door system. It's a revolving door system. Until they put you behind that door that has a key that you don't have. So yeah, some of y'all ain't seen my grandpa cup. Y'all seen my grandpa cup? One of the best Christmas gifts ever. Yeah, I said Christmas gifts, y'all, for all the Pan-Africanists that are still looking from yesterday. That's what I got for Christmas. I didn't get it for Kwanzaa. Sorry. But anyways, those were inside jokes for the people who watch the cast. Boycott, sidetrack. Period. Boycott, sidetrack. I don't know how to say it anymore. Boycott, sidetrack. That's what we have to do. We just have to do that. You know, we just have to. We have to put ourselves in a position to where we know if we're eating there, we're eating in a place that employees have been brutalized, wronged, cheated, period. And they paid a settlement to stop the bleeding. Because what they paid the settlement on, there was so much more that could have been brought out. And obviously the people were compensated amicably, and that's good. But what was probably withheld, because I don't really know the actual funds that were dispersed, probably would have been 4 or 5 times more. We're talking of years of detriment, years of detrimental behavior. Kill the brand. When I say boycott, I don't mean go get a sign and go dance out in front of the building. I'm not about that. I do my best on my end. If I'm going to boycott, if I'm going to do anything in opposition of something, I don't even want to hurt the French family, because everybody in the French family is not directly connected to Sidetrack. There's children, there's grandchildren, there's nieces and nephews that ain't got nothing to do with Sidetrack. Nothing to do with it. I'm going to kill your brand. Your brand is what makes you and what keeps you. And see, the problem with me is I've had people try to do that to me, but they couldn't kill my brand. They couldn't kill me because I am the brand. And this happens a lot. This happens a lot out here. People try to drag your name in the mud. They try to run game. I don't have family members try to run game in the streets, all to have their little flames doused by the truth. Who's the truth? Me. It's always to kill the brand. I don't care about picketing. I ain't trying to run up in nobody's business and cause discord, knocking over tables and stuff like that. What's that do? Throwing bricks through windows. What's that do? That don't do nothing but a whole bunch of court appearances. I'm talking about stopping your brand in its tracks, in its side tracks. Whoa. I'm missing stuff in the chat. 300 G's? 300 stacks for 42 individuals. And if you ask me, that sounds a little low, but I don't know because I'm not in that part of the business. Before taxes and lawyer fees. Lawyer fees should have got taken care of by sidetrack. That should have been a contingency that they pay all the lawyer fees too. A lot of those lawsuits be like that. We want our settlement and you pay our lawyer fees. The plaintiff should have never had to pay no lawyer fees out of that. The guilty people should have paid the lawyer fees out of that. How lucky of them to get over $3 million in grants and PPP loan. Woo, y'all got heat. Got over $3 million, but they only paid out 10% for a settlement. Like I said, it sounds a little low. It sounds a little low. They got $3 million in grants and PPP loans during the pandemic, but then they only paid out $300,000. They came up to 2.7. They came up 2.7. That's enough to go buy a couple more Teslas and a couple more homes in a couple more parts of the country. What's up with that? Linda would come down to a business I worked at and would bitch about customers and how people would just complain to get things for free. She's extremely racist, so much so she feels comfortable. Wow. That she feels comfortable. Expressing her opinions publicly to strangers. Well, that's usually how racists are. That's usually how racists are. And y'all know how I feel about the term racist and the term bigot. See, to be racist, you got to have money. You got to have money and you got to have power. You got to have opulence. That's the only way a person can be racist. Okay? Now, if you just broke as shit, then you can be a bigot, but you can't be racist. Linda classifies as a racist. She's got money. She's got power. She knows politicians. She's got weight she can throw around this county, around this state. So she is a absolute racist. Absolutely. And there's proof of that. There's proof of that I don't have to bring out on this cast because it's not relevant. But when we talk about boycotting a place, we're not only boycotting for the 42 individuals who sued because there were hundreds more who didn't have the courage to come forward. And I understand the sidetrack PTSD. I get it. But for the people that were directly affected in this situation, I totally get it. Excuse me. I totally get it. Where I want to be is I want to be on the right side of this. I want to be on the right side of this. So I want to make sure that we're getting out ahead of these things right here. What else we got there? PD, let's go. The money was allocated according to how long the employees worked to sidetrack. Okay. So they had to break the bread off based on tenure. They did not get over 3 million in PP loans. 2.8. So they did not get over 3 million. They got 2.8. Sounds like somebody did some homework. Yeah. 715,000. Why would they have needed 715,000 in PPP loans? They own the block. Why would they have needed money? And there were so many people that deserved PPP loan. I ain't talking about y'all Washtenaw County scammers. I'm talking about people that had actual businesses. I ain't talking about y'all that had your hair salons and your nail shops in your apartments. I'm talking about real businesses that didn't get any PPP money. They got $750,000 in PPP money. The French family? Come on now. And what'd that go to? It went to those healthy renovations they did around the property, right? Not. Maybe it got them a few more Black Lives Matter signs to put into the windows. Maybe it got them a couple matchbooks to even up those tables that are kind of wobbly. Maybe it got them some, bar cleaner. I don't know what it got. I don't know what it got. I don't even care. I just know that we need to be boycotting sidetrack. You see there, Cody? Sorry, I should have. Oh, okay. No problem. No problem. Sounds like we got somebody that did some homework in the chat. So we got some covenants here. So we good with it. While multiple businesses closed during the pandemic, absolutely. You have businesses in that corridor that closed during COVID, but they got $715,000 to keep them open. Got it. Okay. Getting money during COVID-19. Yeah. Wow. She said she had 31. Records show she had 11. She 20 light. Maybe them other 20 employees that she said she had, maybe some of those were some of the illegal people that she used to employ. She's known for hiring some illegals and keeping them in the back, keeping them in the kitchen. She keep the illegals and the blacks in the kitchen. She's known for that. Known for it. Oh, yeah. Man, we cooking in here today. We 51 minutes and we still on the first topic. I ain't going to take that long on the second two. Don't need to. One's a rehash anyway. Sound like Linda French went to the Brett Favre School of Business. Stealing from the poor. Sound like Linda French went to the Brett Favre School of Business. Yeah. It went to buying the rest of the building for $1.25 million. Uh-oh. That's either a person with some real estate knowledge or just somebody who else did their homework. See, y'all making this real easy for me today. That's the last thing y'all need to do is give me the info to be able to report. Sorry. I ain't have to do much homework on this one. Y'all keeping my coffee hot. Thank you. What else we got here? The PPP money could go only to payroll. The 2.0 SBA grant could legally be used to purchase the real estate. Oh, wow. I love the knowledgeable chat room. This is beautiful. Or their wives. Spilling it. The tea is being spilled in the Freedmen Media streets today and raising rents on struggling businesses, forcing them into terrible corner during the pandemic. Absolutely. I'm trying to tell y'all, man, 2023 going to be a little different out here in Washtenaw County. And for the people that don't really understand from the angles that I come from, you will. I get it. You will. But I tried to tell you in 2022, I tried to build some bridges, but, they got burned out because people wanted to say I was a sellout. I ain't never sold nothing out but my product. But, the problem is when y'all do wrong stuff out here, y'all think I should ride with you just because you blackity black. No, I'm going to ride with you because you right. And when you wrong, I'm going to bring you out. And if you keep talking, I'm going to lay you out. Because, see, that's the problem with us. We let too many people get along to get along. But Freedmen Media here now, so we're going to get gone. We go into council meetings. We go into commissioner meetings. We want to be a part of this county the right way, not just lackeys. I'm not applying for grants, hoping for grants and hoping for this and hoping for that. But it don't mean I can't get out here and help folks, because I'm giving back from day one. I'm not begging so I can give back. I'm giving back from day one. I'm giving back from effort one. Y'all begging to give back. Sorry, we ain't the same. Gotta love those public records. Gotta love those public records. It's great to have allies doing the right things out here. It's great to have allies. Yep. My sentiments exactly. Back to the basics. My sentiments exactly. So if I haven't said it once or haven't said it 10 times, boycott, sidetrack. We'll follow back up right near the end when we cluster it up. The second thing that I want to talk about, it's a rehash. It's actually a rehash because we talked about this a couple days ago. The bivouac got robbed, and it wasn't a stick-em-up fest. No, it wasn't a stick-em-up fest. What it was a few clowns that decided to walk on in the joint and just steal right off the rack. They had masks on, you know. They had masks on. Let me see if I can bring that up, because some of y'all might have not seen that. Let me see if I can bring that up. Give me 1 second. Is the bivouac in there? No, let me go on in that one. Give me 1 second. Let's keep it in context. Keep it right. There we go. We're going to stay on code, stay on course. These clowns went up in the bivouac, a 51-year-old business in the center of Ann Arbor, the heart of University of Michigan's campus, and just took stuff right off the rack and walked out. Got into a silver Buick Enclave. Now, somebody knows these dogs. Somebody knows these dogs. And when I call you a dog, I'm not calling you a dog just because of the personal way I feel about you. You a dog because you took a man who built a business and maintained it for 51 years, and he probably would have gave you all 12 of them coats if you came in there and said, I need some coats for my family. But you didn't need no coats for your family. They went and stole them coats so they could go sell them somewhere. They went and stole them coats so they could go sell them somewhere. If you went in there and said, I need coats for my kids, this family would have gave you the coats off the rack. They would have gave you the coats off the rack. AJ and his family, they've been in that business for 51 years. Daddy retired last year. How many other businesses are in that corridor that have been open 51 years? Walked in and walked out with coats, acting like they're trying to protect themselves because of COVID. No, they're trying to protect their identity. But somebody knows these dogs. Somebody knows these dogs. This is the problem that we have too. See, somebody actually benefited, whether it be in Washtenaw or Wayne County, off this shit right here. Is it really like that though? People can't buy coats. I mean, look at the coats they got on. Did she steal that Bulls jacket off of somebody's rack? That coat that's being worn by the person in front. She got a designer coat on. She got a designer purse. They getting into a fairly new Buick. I think that's a North Face jacket. That the one with the mask on and the black. Did they steal all them coats? They wearing stolen goods. They getting stolen goods. Is the car stolen? Oh yeah, it's up in Ann Arbor and Washtenaw County. It's kind of hard for you to function without a chief of police in Ann Arbor, and we already know how good the sheriff is for Washtenaw County. So I can see why crime is on the rise. We've got no chief in Ann Arbor, and we've got an absentee sheriff who's out teaching other police agencies how to police with his secondary hustle. He got a side hustle that he prefers as his main hustle, but he's still getting that county check as the sheriff. I can't wait till he gets out the paint. So if anybody knows these dogs, call somebody. Call somebody. Ann Arbor restaurateur. Yep. I heard about that. Another long-time restaurant. I mean, these are staples in this community. So I truly believe that these are not people that are directly connected to Ann Arbor. I believe they're coming into the town and they basically looking at Ann Arbor as an easy get. I believe they're looking at Ann Arbor as an easy get. And see, my thing is, what the bivouac gonna do? They're gonna put locks on the door now? They're gonna have to buzz you in? Yeah, on State Street. People pull on that door every 15, 30 seconds. They're gonna have to buzz people in the city of Ann Arbor? Come on now. We shouldn't even need to have businesses like that in Washtenaw County. But that's what we having to settle for. Craziness out here. It's just flat out craziness. So if anybody knows these dogs, call somebody. DM me. I have no problem. They need to be off the streets. We know the merchandise is gone, but they need to be off the streets. You know, they need to be off the streets. So this next thing is a situation where I know a lot of people always feel like I'm going at Black businesses. And I don't know how that is, seeing that I support Black businesses all the time. But when you say something negative about a business and it's a Black business, now I'm attacking Black. Okay. I've gotten past that part before. Oh, what'd you say there, PD? The guy who attacked Savah, that appeared in 15 District Court multiple times. He was on parole when he attacked her. Okay, so hopefully he got no bond. If he's already on parole, he needed to go back and sit. He needed to go back and sit until they get ready to bus him back to the prison because he violated. He needs to go. He needs to go. I would hope that he's not back on the streets. And I know they changed little systems around here in the last few years, but anybody that's on parole and they still out here attacking people, his ass needs to go. Period. He is a master's degree, a doctorate criminal. He needs to go. He needs to go on back and study some more. Period. That's where we need to be with him. Been in district court. Now, he needs to be in circuit court. I'm not sure. I guess he's a petty thief. If he's in district court, he ain't rose up to the circuit level yet. He needs to be in circuit court. What? He's being held on $150,000. What? Look, y'all. If his ass don't go to prison this time, you know what? They're going to start talking again. They're going to start talking about the prosecutorial efforts. And I'm not here to say nothing about Ellie and Victoria today. You can't have somebody who's habitually attacking folks out here, habitually committing crimes and whatnot, and being let go. His ass needs to sit. His ass needs to sit. Absolutely. He is being examined to see if he is mentally fit to be bound over for trial. I don't care. Put him in the forensic center. Maybe he's not. Put him in the forensic center. He don't need to be on the street. He's mentally fit to be attacking people out here. We know he's mentally fit for that. Maybe he's not mentally fit to stand trial. Put him in the forensic center. Bye. We'll come back and reevaluate you in 5 years. How about that? Multiple crimes, but they trying to figure out whether he is mentally fit to stand trial. Ask his victims, is he mentally fit? That's what I have a problem with the judicial system. Am I really caring about somebody's mentally fit? That's like giving sexual predators a plea deal. When you give sexual predators a plea deal, when you give murderers a plea deal, that boggles my mind. You killed somebody. You raped somebody. And you get a plea deal? You get to pick how long you're going to go to jail? Sorry. Period. Yeah, he can be in there. 1 + 1 is Jello all day long. Can you tie your shoes? Marshmallow. What? Yeah, no. Send his ass to the forensic center. Peace. We have a mental health millage. Ann Arbor uses that money for bike lanes and housing. What? We have a mental health millage. And Ann Arbor uses the money for bike lanes and housing. Sounds about right. And turning all of our one-way streets into two-way streets, I guess. Brother Narmer, Happy New Year to you. Peace, love, and reparations. Freedmen Media in here cooking today. In here cooking with some knowledgeable folks. We're talking on the local end today. We got some folks that's directly and indirectly connected to it, so we've been in here cooking. It's ridiculous. A millage for mental health, but they're obviously misappropriating those funds. I don't know what mental health and bike lanes have to do with anything other than the fact that, you know, I feel a little bit safer by actually having my own lane. Somebody can still run off the road and hit me. And housing, what kind of housing? Affordable housing? Housing that most people still can't afford? Boy, these conversations get interesting. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. I'm definitely going to have to ask about that. I can get into the city council meeting and have somebody please break down what covers the mental health millage. And I don't care what council person answers it. I just need to hear what that covers and then say, but is the money going for that? Because you've got a person that's been in the 15th district court system multiple times and you've never sent him to jail and you've never sent him to a mental health facility. Now he's sitting in the county and you're trying to figure out whether he is fit to stand trial. 1 + 1 is Jello. We already know that. All the new affordable housing around this county is going to be for people that they busting in. We already know. We already know. They coming. They coming. They gave Vladimir Zelensky $65 billion. He needed that money so he could put these people on planes so they can come on over to America. They're going to fit right in. See, they're going to throw people off because what we've been seeing is the Afghanis. What we've been seeing is the Latinos. What we've been seeing is, you know, a whole lot of other folks. But now you're going to have blonde hair, blue-eyed people walking around, and you just going to think that they're Americans until they start talking to you. Well, attempting to talk to you. And then they say, no, they'll speak English. And I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. You get to the back of the line then. Because if you don't speak English, I don't need you up at the front of the line. Press 4 for a Ukrainian, whatever. Sorry. The way I see it, if you get a package delivered and you can't speak English, how do I know it's your package? Get somebody on the horn or get somebody to the door that can speak what I speak. If they can't speak what I speak, the package is going back in the truck, and I'll see you next time. Have a translator or an English-speaking person at the door. Bye. That's the way I live it. We gotta put things back in perspective. And speaking of putting things back in perspective, let me go in and get rid of this here. Because I talked about a black business. It was a black business. It was a black-owned business. And it was called Ann Arbor Huron View. And the person who actually owned this business, I think, is an absolutely phenomenal person. I met her a few times. She was always very, very gracious to me. I have nothing bad to say about her. She was the first black woman to own a provisioning center in Washtenaw County, and if not mistaken, in the state. I have had the privilege of knowing the first black woman to own a dispensary. That's what they're called here on the street, but it's called Provisioning Center, and the first black man to own one in the state. I've had the privilege of breaking bread with both of those individuals. And the person who owned this business, who got the license for this business, like I said, she was a fabulous individual. And since she had been in business, you know, I actually tried to do some business with her and her offspring. And I made multiple failed attempts to do so because of the business practices, not of the license holder, but the offspring. And I have no problem with saying that, because anybody who watches this and who knows who her offspring is, they know who she is. So this individual has now lost her business. If you look at that, it no longer says A2 Huron View. It just says Huron View, powered by Sticky. Now, if anybody knows Sticky, Sticky is a provisioning center that has been over in Ypsilanti. And they now are acquiring licenses in multiple locations from what I hear. But I didn't know the exact skinny on everything. So I had to go do a little bit of digging. And I'm going to bring this up. Let me do this real quick. While I do that, y'all can chew on this fat right here, because this is what I found when I went on Weed Maps, I believe it was. Let me make sure. Trying to get to, uh-oh. So there's a, oh, I know what I did wrong. Yeah, I wasn't prepared for this one here. Real quick. Give me 1 second. There we go. There we go. So one of the things, it says, Huron View got a facelift. We came in and helped put the sticky flair on things. Come see Ann Arbor's oldest name and grassroots Michigan dispensaries. Now, y'all got to understand, I love wordplay. I love wordplay. And I love the way they did this. We came in and helped put the sticky flair on things. That wasn't much. But watch this. Come see Ann Arbor's oldest name. They haven't been in Ann Arbor the longest, but they've been around the longest in grassroots Michigan dispensary life. So they said, come see Ann Arbor's oldest name in grassroots Michigan dispensaries. I like the way they played that. Can't have a black business and run it like trash. No, you can't have a black business and run it like a nigga business. Let me just be honest with you. I know we got company here today, Narmer. I get it. But I call it like I call it. There's business and there's business. And you can't have a black business and run it like a black business. Sorry. I can translate that. We bought sticky. Hey, it is what it is. So, after reading that, I read this. Michigan's oldest grassroots family is bringing its knowledge and experience to Ann Arbor. They're letting you know now they have not been in Ann Arbor, in the marketplace of Ann Arbor, but they have been around. Sticky has been a household name in medical and recreational marijuana dispensaries in Michigan. With over 10 years of experience in the legal market, we bring a level of professionalism and expertise that others cannot match. Come see why Sticky's is highly decorated with awards from all over the country in flower, concentrates, edibles, topicals, and of course, our Sticky high gear clothing. I wouldn't have played that much up on the gear because their gear really ain't that sweet. Sticky is all about family. Come see why we want to make the world a little more happy, healthy, and sticky. Okay, I get it. Sounds like they're reaching. I hope they don't break their arm. You know what? Rotator cuff problems. You tend to develop rotator cuff problems when you pat yourself on the back like too much. You develop those rotator cuff problems. Now, this area that this provisioning center is in was in one of the more black populated areas, black populated parts of town, the southeast part of town, where I grew up. You know, lots of subsidized housing communities, neighborhoods. And I know it's changed over a lot through the course of the years, been infiltrated with people that, you know, have come into the country over the last 25, let's say. But the problem is this right here was in a corridor where we just rode our bikes up and down the sidewalk until we started driving cars, until we became grown-ups, until we became parents. 2 doors over is where a Heritage Pizza place used to be, where my kids to this day still talk about that pizza place. It's a corridor that was densely populated and consumed up by American freedmen. So to see an American freedman actually have the first black dispensary in the city, in this corridor, should have been a great thing. It should have been a great thing for us. But no, it couldn't be, because we couldn't run a black business. We had to run a black business. And once again, to the license holder, I feel for her, because I don't believe that she did anything catastrophic here. I think there were other situations at hand. I think there were too many hands in the pot, and I think those hands were dirty, and I think that's where she got fucked up. Excuse the language. I've tried not to cuss as much in this stream and in my past streams for the last 30 days, but that's the only way that I can really describe that one. I believe she got fucked up. I believe she did. Yeah, that's what happened. When you get to patting yourself on the back, you develop rotator cuff issues. Yeah. And I can't fault Sticky for swooping in and grabbing the license. For what it takes to actually get a license, they just happen to be in play. I can't, hey, look, if the ball rolls my way, I'm scooping it up and throwing it. I'm not going to say, oh, there's a ball and it's coming my way, and let the other person scoop it up. I'm scooping it up and throwing it. I can't say anything negative about what they did. But what I'm saying is negative about what happened prior to. A licensee is a licensee. They're all in the same plane when they go in that room and they stand before that board, they file their app and they got to talk that talk. They're all the same. They're all equal. Now, I know there's some preferential treatment. Absolutely. But they've turned down brothers and sisters, Narmer. you would have never expected to get turned down. If you remember Megatron, you know who Megatron is? He was turned down for a cannabis license over some parking tickets. His partner was equally denied simultaneously because of a rental property that he had in a city. And the parking tickets and the rental property wasn't even in the same city they were applying for the license for. Craziness. Yeah. Too many cooks, too many ideologies, too many recipes. If I'm going in one pot, I only need one recipe to go in one pot. If I got multiple pots, then I'll have multiple recipes, but I don't need multiple recipes going in one pot. And I'm saying no pot with no pun intended. That just happened to come out right there like that. But let me just give you a little bit of what's happened through the course of these situations, because I'm all about the proof in the pudding. Okay? All about the proof in the pudding. This is just 4 months ago. I believe the business changed hands maybe a month or two ago. Okay? This is literally 4 months ago. Prices are very high. Selection is very limited. This is a business that has been open, I don't know, 7 years, 6 years, 7 years. I think they came in the game about 18, if I'm not mistaken. It had to be at least 18 because I was working for Platinum Vape in 18 and I used to deliver. And that's when I was bringing my product and the vape cartridges at the same time. So we were doing business together at one time, a very short period of time. They did business with Platinum Vape way longer than they did business with me. The reason we couldn't do business was because they took my product and sold it at whatever prices. Says selection is very limited and prices are very high. And I have proof that they did sell my product at a higher tier, but they didn't re-up with me. They re-up with the white man. So if we're going to kick somebody in the balls right now, even though it was two women running that, let's kick that in the balls. They went and re-upped with the white man, but didn't re-up with the brother who brought them the product that everybody loved. So that's why we couldn't do business anymore. Thank you. That's why. Prices are very high. Selection is limited. $35 for a half a gram of average concentrates. I can get a whole gram for 17 to 24 with 70% more THC from other dispensaries like Amazing Buds and Adrian. By the way, it's not cool to sell expired products. This is 4 months ago. This is not a newly opened establishment. This was 4 months ago. You admitted that you sell topicals that are expired and you know it. And you seem to think it's okay. This was the reply. Hi there. Thank you for your review. Fortunately, all of the people appreciate the curbside service. Unfortunately, some do not. I'm not sure how all of people appreciate the curbside service, but some do not. But anyways, bad grammar. They should have never wrote this review. Reply. We do our best to provide education before you purchase so that you may select the best products for you. This sounds very cookie cutterish, but if it was a copy and pasted review reply and they had misspellings and bad grammar, I understand why you're out of business. I totally get it. We do our best to provide education before you purchase so that you may select the best products for you. As far as expired product, well, that simply isn't true. Okay. You definitely can't believe everything you read. If I look at some bread and it's January 2nd and the expiration date is December 31st, that's expired. Now that bread might not be spoiled, but it's past the expiration date. And if it's a concentrate or anything else that was on the package and it's past the date of purchase, there's an expiration date. Now, whether you think it's bad, whether you think it's old or whatever, you put that in your discounted shelf and say, hey, you're buying this product because at a lower price because it's expired. They obviously sold the expired product at a full price, or I don't think they would have got the flack that they got. This is just me. I do business different. Some people do business different. You definitely can't believe everything you read. No, I do believe pretty much everything I read when it's factual. Well, in the event you make it back to Ann Arbor, I'm sure we'll have something yummy for you. Thanks again for your feedback. Be blessed. Wrong answer. Let's go to another one. Let's go to another one. I'm trying to find them currently. So it was a good one. Ma got it going on here. The selection is gray. Not great, gray. Gray. Ask about the pre-rolls. Prerole. She's very nice and prompt. I will be returning. Hopefully, he'll be returning to a library to get an English book, because I'm not sure exactly what was going on here. Ma got it going on. MAA got it going on here. The selection is gray. I don't like gray areas, but anyway, to each his own. Ask about the pre-rolls. Preroles. Pre-rolls, Prerolls. I'm not sure why that is not known, but it is. She's very nice and prompt. I will be returning. When you return, it's going to be run by Sticky. And if you were happy then, you'll be ecstatic. I'm going to go right to the next review. I also feel the curbside and can't see the product. I wasted $175 on an ounce that had tiny buds and was terrible presentation and smelled not good. Bad English to boot, but I'm still going to struggle through it. I don't even want it, and I know they don't return, so I will not be returning. Also, website said 10% first time, and I mentioned it, and I got a pre-roll instead. So if you spend $175 and you got a 10% discount on your first visit, that should have been $17.50 off of your fee. Instead, they gave them a pre-roll, which cost the average dispensary about 50 cents to make. So they made out $17 to the good. I'm good, and this is why dispensary is overrated. All of them. Jars down the street has way better bud. This is a dispensary that I could actually hit a baseball to. The tart cake is not super loud either. It's straight trash. I can't respond to a review, but I don't want to come all the way back to get a trade sample if it isn't great. The bud I had to go buy right after at another place to get me by, which means I spent $300 yesterday to get right. Wow. So they spent $175 at Huron View and spent another $125 somewhere else, and that was to get them right. So they saved $50 and got better flour. This is what I'm trying to tell you. There's a way to do business, and then there's a way to do business. Oh, they did reply to this one, though. They didn't reply to that other one. They replied to this one. Hey, Chris, so sorry the tart cake didn't work for you, because we actually have people coming weekly for it. We've continued to keep it in stock by request since November. Come by and get a couple trade samples and see if something better suits you. Sending blessings and thanks for shopping at Ann Arbor's last locally owned dispensary. I could go on forever, but I'm approaching 90 minutes, and I believe my granddaughter is going to be getting up from her nap soon, so I don't need to go any further. Them reviews are something else, but they're all true. This is what we heard more than not around this area from people that knew the people who ran it. They ran it like a trap, a bad trap. Because I knew people that ran good traps back in the day. And where I tried to elevate them with my branded product, they chose to go white. And I'm not saying you can't go right when you go white, but I was the only branded culinary artist in the city that was an American freedman. So I was going to give you the love just so we could all get on. Like I said, let's all eat. Not one person, let's all eat. But the people who ran this establishment, the person who was actually out front of it only believed that she should have ate. Not the licensee, the offspring. And see, when I have to deal with people like that, I generally let them go because I don't have to deal with people like that. This is what I believe in right here. Get rid of everybody who plays both sides, no matter what they mean to you. And this meant I lost a business contact because I could have begged my way back in. Absolutely. I could have absolutely begged my way back in. But why would I beg when I know I've got a credible product? Why would I beg when I know nobody got the product that I got on the street? And we could have grew together. And the way I know the streets of this county, I had already had product in other dispensaries before it all got legalized and metrics comes up to where I got squeezed out because I wasn't a licensed processor. But being that they were, and they had the ability to get those licenses, they would have loved to see not only a black woman be the first black dispensary owner, but a black woman have her own edible products. I mean, that's where my gifts were in the kitchen. I was a culinary artist. And seeing that she was a cancer patient, we could have based our products around her life as a surviving cancer patient. We talked about all this. This is all old news for the people who know. If you know, you know. Is that what they say? If you know, you know. Yeah, they do. And now look at them. Now look at them. No doubt. We're going to be bringing it. I already committed myself to 300 streams this year. I committed myself to 300 streams this year. I'm only 298 away. I'm not even going to count the one that I was a guest on last night. We 2 in, 2 days in, two in. I've tried to do business with people that I know are trying to do business the right way. I can't give you my hard-earned dollars if you're not going to treat me right. You're not going to overprice me and underdeliver me. I can't do it. It takes me way too much to break $1 out here. I ain't had nobody write me a check in 6 years. It'll be seven years now. It's beyond me to have somebody underpay me when I overwork everything. I give love on everything. I don't shortchange nobody on nothing. And then when you treat me like I don't matter, when you treat my business like we don't matter, I got to let you go. But before I let you go, I'm going to let everybody else know. That's why we continue to boycott Sidetrack. We have to boycott Sidetrack. Absolutely. I tried to paint the picture, but they Ray Charles me. They Jose Feliciano me. They Stevie Wondered me. You know what I'm saying? They Blind Boys of Alabama me. They act like they couldn't see it. But they saw doing business with the white man. And here's the thing. I didn't have nothing. There was no problem with doing business with white people. The most money I made in the cannabis industry was with people that weren't black. That's an unfortunate thing. The most times I got robbed in the cannabis industry were people that were black. It is what it is. It is what it is. I'm not saying that the people that I made money with were all white, because most of the people in the cannabis industry are Chaldeans, Palestinians, Arabs. You know, I dealt with some Caucasian folk. But every time I got cheated in this industry, they looked like me. They looked like me. And how you gonna do me wrong when I'm doing nothing but showing you love, giving you the best that you can get, especially with what you got? And they had nothing at the time. What I knew they had was no money. So I was willing to front product. You sell it, re-up with me, give me what you got. Let's go. Nah. I'm gonna re-up with him. I'm gonna re-up with somebody that's already doing better than you and fuck you over. Profanity. We don't have to do each other like this. That's what keeps the collective from really coming together. One person thinks they should be the only one eating and everybody else should be begging. Nah. Don't ever ask me what I'm bringing to the table. I am the table. I am the table. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I don't put everybody in one basket. I never would, never could, never should. Absolutely not. But if we work together, we'd be an immovable force. Just like I said in that Twitter space that I did, if we moved like a monolith, instead of fighting, having monolithic behavior, we'd be much better off. People too scared to live like we should be living. We should be living in a monolithic way. It's the 2nd of January. I ain't did a Twitter space. Maybe I need to do a Twitter space too. My lives go on Twitter. I get a few views over there on Twitter. I'm universally hated over there because they don't like the old nigga. They don't like what I say. Because I don't argue with them. I ain't got time to debate with nobody. You know. And when I leave them alone, they be like, oh yeah, I ran that old nigga. There's nobody on Twitter that can run me down. I ran down one of the worst trolls on Twitter. And he thought it was because he was an albino. No. I know albino. I grew up around albino people. I feel for a person that's an albino. But he took himself out of context and talked about this man. And once you say something about this man, now you got to talk to this man. See, that's the problem. He opened his mouth about that man, so now he had to talk to this man. And when he had to talk to this man, then he wanted to apologize. I don't want to hear that shit, dog. Take your glow-in-the-dark ass somewhere and sit down. Once you disrespect that man, you disrespected this man. It's all it is. That's all it is. And that's all it's going to be. Period. Some people take my silence as like, oh, you know, I ran him down. No, I just choose not to engage with your monkey ass no more. We done. We done, bro. There ain't no point of us talking no more, bro. I don't need to talk to you no more. You know? So, but I'm going to go on and get up out of here. And what I need y'all to do is be safe. I really need y'all to be safe. Because what's happening out here, as we see people are being reckless. We talk about the sister Tracy Golden walking out of a party store, shot down, carjacked. And this was a true pillar of our community. respiratory therapist for many, many, many years, union steward, and the ambulance drove her to the hospital that she worked at, and she died in her co-worker's arms. We saw Survive. We saw Bivouac, locally owned business people being attacked, being robbed. They don't even publicize all the stuff that goes on in Ypsi and all the places to get robbed in Ypsi no more. It's become so commonplace, we done got desensitized to it. And I know that MLive is such a shit publication, they don't even put up half the things that go around here, so you don't even know what's really happening as far as the shootings, the assaults, the attacks. Who's supposed to be protecting Ypsi over there? I thought they had some protection over there. They ain't got no protection over there. Where Jerry and the boys at? If they ain't doing some type of expose over there at the Park Ridge Center, where the Washtenaw County Sheriff Department at? Ypsi Police Department got 4 police officers. They got 4 police officers and 3 cars. I don't think they have a chief either. Ann Arbor and Ypsi don't have chiefs of police, and we got Jerry Clayton as a sheriff who's absentee because he's off selling policing to other agencies. We in trouble, y'all. We in trouble. You know what I'm saying? But Freedmen Media is here. This was the Washtenaw Word, week 1. We're going to do this every Monday. We're going to talk about Washtenaw County only stuff. Washtenaw County only stuff. Always. We ain't falling off this year, Narmer. We ain't getting hemmed up in all them little situations. Trolls, tethers, Pan-Africanists, Christians, they better get out the way. We got a steamroller coming in. It's over. And we got to protect our sisters. We got to protect the children. We gotta. Well, also what we got to do is we got to boycott Sidetrack. We got to boycott Sidetrack. Absolutely. If you got elected or appointed, we holding you to task this year, next year, and the year beyond. We here now. We here. And if you don't think so, go ahead and see what's going to happen when we start showing up to these council meetings, these commissioner meetings. You know, politicians like to have their little coffee chats, fireside chats, and they start getting questioned on what they doing out here. When they come out and be talking about they want to sit with the community, they be sitting with their constituents. They're immediate constituents. I'm not talking about the community at large. It's the people that make them feel good that's going to always ask them the easy questions, throwing softballs. No, I'm throwing sliders. I'm throwing knuckleballs. I'm throwing curveballs. I know y'all can hit the heater. Y'all can hit the heater. All y'all politicians in Washtenaw County can hit the heater. But can you hit that slider? Can you hit that knuckleball? Can you hit that curveball? And what you better understand is I'm a lefty. And if you know anything about baseball and left-handed throwers, just be ready for the hose. Hose.
This revolution is filled with so many ironies, really. First, you know, that it is manly to keep your word, right? If you are a man, you keep your word. And now all of the black people in this country are demanding, and even the black people in the whole world are demanding, is that you keep your word. You told us we were free. Well, then show us that we're free. You told us that there is justice, equality for all in this country. Well, then stick to your word and let us see the justice and equality for all. Or else admit to us that you're not a man. You're a bird. You're afraid of us. You're afraid to give us equal stand. You're afraid that if you give us equal ground, that we will match you and we will override you.